This made me think of Turkey this past week. Their biggest earthquake that they've had there in many years. So many people, so many lives lost in a beautiful country. Jesus makes an appeal for aid. The people give a generous hand, and in answer to a lawyer's question, Jesus gives the philosophy of disasters. He also touches a bit on reincarnation. As Jesus taught, a man stood forth and said, "Rabboni, may I speak?" And Jesus said, "Say on." And then the man spoke out and said, "A storm upon the sea last night wrecked many fishing boats, and scores of men went down to their death. And lo, their wives and children are in need. What can be done to help them in their sore distress?" And Jesus said, "A worthy plea. You men of Galilee, take heed. We may not bring again to life these men, but we can succor those who look to them for daily bread. You stewards of wealth of God, an opportunity has come. Unlock your vaults, bring forth your hoarded gold, bestow it with a lavish hand. This wealth is laid aside for just at times as these, when it was needed. Well, it was yours to guard. But now it is not yours, for it belongs to those who are in want. And if you give it not, you simply bring upon your heads the wrath of God. It is not charity to give to those who need, but it is honesty. It is but giving to men their own." Then Jesus turned to Judas, one of the 12, who was the treasurer of the band, and said, "Bring forth our treasure box. The money is not ours now. Turn every farthing to the help of those in such distress." Now Judas did not wish to give the money all to those in want, and so he talked with Peter, James, and John. And he said, "Lo, I will save a certain part and give the rest. That surely is enough for us, for we are strangers to the ones in want. We do not even know their names." But Peter said, "Why, Judas? Man, how do you dare to think to trifle with the strength of right? The Lord has spoken true. This wealth does not belong to us in face of this distress, and no, to refuse is to give, is to steal. We need not fear, we will not come to want." Then Judas opened up the treasure box and gave the money all, and there was gold and silver, food, raiment in abundance for the needs of the bereaved. A lawyer said, "Rabboni, if God rules the worlds and all that is in them, did he not bring about this storm? Did he not slay these men? Has he not brought this sore distress upon these people here? And was it done to punish them for crimes?" And we remember well when once a band of earnest Jews from Galilee were in Jerusalem and at a feast and were for fancy crimes against the Roman law, cut down within the very temple court by Pontius Pilate, and their blood became their sacrifice. And this made me think of what happened in China, in the square where they cut down all those people who were in a protest for freedom. Did God bring on this slaughter all because these men were doubly vile? And then we bring to mind that once a tower called Siloam graced the defenses of Jerusalem, and seemingly without a cause, it tottered and it fell to earth, and 18 men were killed. Were these men vile? And were they slain as punishment for some great crime? And Jesus said, we cannot look upon the single span of life and judge of anything. There is a law that men must recognize. Result depends on cause. Men are not motes to float about within the air of one short life and then be lost in nothingness. They are undying parts of the eternal whole that come and go, lo, many times into the air of earth and of the great beyond, just to unfold the godlike self. A cause may be part of time, brief life, results may not be noted until another life. The cause of your results cannot be found within my life, nor can the cause of my results be found in yours. I cannot reap except I sow, and I must reap whatever I sow. The law of all eternities is known to masterminds. Whatever men do unto other men, the judge and executioner will do to them. We do not know the execution of the law among the sons of men. We note the weak dishonored, trampled on and slain by those men called strong. We note that men with wood-like heads are seated in the chairs of state. Our kings and judges, senators in Greece, while men with giant intellects are scavengers about the streets. We note that women with moiety of common sense and not a whit of any other kind are painted up and dressed as queens, becoming ladies of the courts of public kings, because they have the form of something beautiful, while God's own daughters are their slaves or serve as common laborers in the fields. The sense of justice cries aloud, this is a travesty on right. So when men see no further than one little span of life, it is no wonder what they say. There is no God. Or if there is a God, he is a tyrant and should die. If you would judge aright of human life, you must arise and stand upon the crest of time and note the thoughts and deeds of men as they have come up through the ages past. For we must know that man is not a creature made of clay to turn again to clay and disappear. He is a part of the eternal whole. There never was a time when he was not. A time will never come when he will not exist. And now we look. The men who are now slaves were tyrants once. The men who now are tyrants have been slaves. The men who suffer now once stood aloft and shouted with a friend's delight, while others suffered at their hands. And men are sick and halt and lame and blind because they once transgressed the laws of perfect life. And every law of God must be fulfilled. Man may escape the punishment that seems but due for his misdoings in this life, but every deed and word and thought has its own needs and bounds, is caused and has its own results. And if a wrong be done, the wrong must be made right. And when the wrongs have all been righted, then will man arise and be at one with God. It's a lot to think about, and sometimes it's hard to read, and sometimes we think, do I really believe that? It's truly, do we really understand that? And are we seeking to look further into what it means? The message was about sharing, and think of our world, how it would be in times of need if what is needed is given. Whatever it is, food, shelter, prayer, some time, taking time to talk with someone, to listen to someone, is all it takes to help them go along with life sometimes. And we never know when we could be the catalyst to make this difference. In our busy lives, and especially at work, it's difficult sometimes to take the time, to take someone aside, spend some time with them. But we could give them a rain check and say, I'd like to talk to you later. What are you doing after work or tonight? Then the other party would know that someone is interested, someone cares, and their situation, and wants to help them. Now this person feels loved and has something to look forward to that they didn't have before. And if you have already helped them before, listening to their story, because you have shown them someone does care. Sharing of ourselves, whatever we have that is needed, is a great and wonderful gift that we are capable of, and special to the giver as well as the receiver. Sharing special all year long, not just as Christmas time. And it's appreciated and needed more during difficult periods at the time of the happening. From the reading, in verse 11 to 14, was a great show of faith to show all that is needed now, knowing that when they themselves are in need, so it will also be given. This goes hand in hand with the prosperity teachings of the world, of how the world has enough for everyone. We only need to share. And that made me think of what the world needs now is love, sweet love. And the blessings and prayers go to Rev Debra, who wrote that, and he's passed this week. So wonderful songwriter. Sharing is giving and taking, talking and listening, looking to and being looked to. In verse 15, this is a very important universal law of being observed, is divine right action that balances the world for healing to occur. I think it was my mother who once remarked to me that she felt more women go to the hairdresser so that they'll have someone that had to listen to them and touch them. You're touching their hair, you know, which is not so common with our society. In the disasters of our times, this reading helps to clarify the why for us. In verse 25-32 tells all understanding comes not from one lifetime or era or existence, but from many, and also gives us the hope that all will be justified. All is seen by God. Spirit sees all. And I think that's what helped me a lot when I was younger, being brought up with God. And my mother would say, you know, I may not see all that you're doing, but God is. And he's a little more powerful than I am. It also reminds us that we cannot judge others, as we don't know the whole truth, to do so fairly. And as others do not know our entire truth. This is hard for us being the physical, as we are taught to compare and choose. With verse 48-50, we are assured that to everything there is a purpose under heaven. There is a reason for everything. No matter how small or trivial it may seem at the time, it is to a special purpose that it happened a certain way, to a special end that it happened a certain way. Last weekend, I actually wrote this. It's one of the ones they chose for today. I wrote it I wrote it in 1995. And there was a time I was told of a rare opportunity, a wonderful seminar that I might wish to attend, and I was very excited about it. And in the morning of the seminar, I couldn't find the information about it anywhere. And then a friend called me saying she needs a little help with something. She was actually working towards her psychological doctorate and had papers all over her apartment when I got there. And so I said, yeah, we need to give her some backing and help her organize. And I was very glad that I had that opportunity to help her. And she turned and looked to me and said, I feel like someone sent you here to be my guardian angel, and I'm so glad you're here. And it really touched me that she used those particular words, and I realized that there was a very good reason for me missing what I thought was to be a very important seminar. She certainly was more important than that. And I was happy to help her out. We just need to be there.